What's going on, everyone? This is Goatee and a place to be.
Bobby Kicks back in the mix, guys.
Yes, indeed. And Bobby Kicks, I just want to go like this. I want to get like a shoe shine buffer and just buff all these because we are in a 11 mood.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, a lot of shininess going on over here too. So,
woo, buddy,
a lot of awesome. Just a lot of cool stuff here, man. I mean, like you can see, obviously on the table we have 11s on the mind.
But it's not just 11s.
Yeah.
This is specifically tailored to the greatest of all time, in our opinion, Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. This is every single Air Jordan 11 that he wore, quote unquote.
Yeah.
In the 95, 96, because we don't have enough bandwidth in this show, Bobby.
Yeah.
To showcase every single Air Jordan 11 that came out.
And there's a little asterisk in there too, because there's like little details here and there that we want to clarify. That's why we're doing this episode. Correct. Because we want to go into the history.
Right.
Because this is considered the best basketball shoe of all time.
100%.
Okay. For a lot of reasons.
100%.
That we'll dive into in this episode too. But real quick, before we jump into that, where are we?
We are in the glorious and illustrious creative zone, creative haven of Top Rocker Tattoo Studio in Peoria, Arizona.
That's right. Our new partner in crime.
Yes.
This is the home of Kickstory Podcast. Our new studio space is here.
Yes. Check us out. Check them out, guys. Head down here. Any type of ink you want to get done, any type of cover-ups, anything you want to do regarding to tattoos, or just expand your creative mind. They got some creatives here. You can check out our little Kickstory area that we have in the tattoo studio. Show us some love. You can check them out once again in Peoria, Arizona. Just Google them. Right? Easy. Or go to their website, toprockertattoos.com.
Most definitely there. So make sure to hook up with Serve One. He will make sure that you're taken care of. So thank you again, once again, for our sponsor in crime there. So let's jump right into it, man.
Woo! Okay, Bobby. So let me explain this real quick again. Okay. The Air Jordan 11s came to us in 96. Right.
Yeah,
in terms of like us trying to get our hands on it.
Guys, sorry for the interruption, but I swear this is going to be a good one. I'm excited to share with you an awesome deal exclusively from Reshoevnator.com. Check this out.
We partnered with Reshoevnator to give you 20% off all things Reshoevnator, the #1 sneaker cleaning solution product and system in the world. All you have to do is go to checkout, type in Kickstory Podcast 20 to get your 20% off.
And Reshoevnator has you covered from stain repellents, shoe wipes, midsole cleaners, and their signature shoe cleaning kit that has the solutions, all the brushes, and the shoe trees there to keep your kicks looking awesome.
That's it. Stay fresh to death with your sneakers while saving some money. Once again, just go to Reshoevnator.com, type in Kickstory Podcast 20, take advantage of that 20% off.
Now, back to the show.
So that's the general public, but these are twofold. It's a mix of what Michael Jordan wore on court in 95, 96. Also, what came out in 95,
what
96.
debuted to the public, yeah.
And then also, asterisk, we got some models here that MJ wore off the court and on the court, but didn't come out until recently.
That's right.
2000. So we got some things going on, but this is all related to MJ wearing these Air Jordan 11s, not to 10,000 colorways that already came out.
True. So these are all OGs. OG colorways specifically.
OG colorways.
And what's cool about this episode is that we've been talking about this off camera for a while. They're like, hey, we got to do the 11s because why not? You have to do it. When you think of sneakers, collectors, enthusiasts, history, you think of the 11s. You have to add that on your list.
100%.
So here we are doing our version of that. So hopefully we can cover a lot of that in this episode.
Yep.
And obviously we'll definitely, engage you guys on social media to tap in and share your thoughts.
Share your 11 story.
Most definitely.
Share your 11 story.
Right.
We both have our little Kickstory phones. We have our phones
a lot
here.
of information.
It's a lot of information. But before we get to information, let's talk about our Kickstory. Our Kickstory. What's our stories behind 11s? I'm going to start. I'm going to start.
All right.
Okay. I never had the Air Jordan 11s in 95, 96, Bobby. Okay. This is an iconic sneaker for me in various reasons. A, the shape, the look. But it was iconic because it was the first sneaker that I understood the concept of selling out.
Okay.
Bobby, when the Concords came out in 96, I bought the Concord hat, a little patent leather box.
Yeah, that's a cool
with
hat.
The Concord purple.
Yep.
The Jumpman Jordan t-shirt. Mm-hmm. I had some Nike sweats. All went to Nike Town, 57th and Madison. in Fifth Avenue in New York. And then I'm like, okay.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Retail for $125. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was like a 10 and a half.
Okay.
Right, I was in high school. And I went, sold out. I'm like, what you mean sold out? I said, oh, yeah, we only carry small sizes, grade school size. I'm like, what are you talking? The second day they came out. Not the first day. Second day they came out. I couldn't get in the first day. Try for the Columbias. Sold out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get the breads. I'm gonna get the black and
Black
reds.
those
Okay,
those were nice looking.
I'm gonna get the black and reds. Went to the store, had my money, boom. Oh, sold out in a full size, lower than me. And I'm like, you know what? I can take the insoles out. But if you remember the patent leather, I was like, I want to destroy my feet if I try to get a whole size smaller. I wound up getting the all black Air Penny Max, which is the Air Penny 1. He wore those in the All-Star games and in the playoffs. So I never had them.
Dang. Yeah, that's unfortunate because I had a similar story. I went to, this was, 96. This was already 96. Okay. Went to Just for Feet, which is at the time the world's largest sneaker store.
Okay.
They had different locations across the U.S. So here in Arizona.
Yep.
I went there with my parents and saw them. They had one pair left, and it was
in your size.
No, it was half a size smaller.
Ooh.
But I didn't tell my parents that. I tried them on. Yeah, these fit great. These fit amazing.
Right.
So, and on top of that, I had to convince them. Please, 100. They were that size. I had the actual pair with it. It was size 7.
Size 7.
They came out to be $100.
Yep.
And some change, right? So after tax. So again, I had to convince my parents. They were small. I didn't tell them, and I had to convince them. I promise, good grades, whatever you want,
Right.
And I got them, and so I luckily had them back in the day, and I still have them till this day in my collection.
Yep.
I held on to the box. I held on to the receipt.
We've done episodes with you wearing and you showing the age of your size 7 Air Jordan Concord.
Yeah, so I have those still in my collection. I'm glad I held on to them.
Yep.
And then years later, I found my size, an OG, which we'll dive into of those same Concords too. So, but that's my little kick story, man. Every time I wore those to school, dude, I was the highlight.
You was that dude.
And I wore them on court. I just in my head, I was Jordan.
Right.
I had those on. I just was on top of my top of my game when it
100%.
came to that. So out there in the playground, outside, so it got some wear and tear.
100%.
But I enjoyed them, and that's what makes it special because I got to wear them and enjoy them. They weren't just for styling; they were just for you can wear them.
Everything.
And it had everything to it, performance and look. So I was lucky enough to experience that back in the day. Yeah,
that's dope. And it was the first sneaker that I can remember that was really promoted. It wasn't all for people to wear them in a prom. Right, I remember Boys to Men. They performed the summer award show. They all had the Concords.
Yeah.
I remember seeing. We got that Georgetown shirt behind us. I remember that's the Kente cloth Georgetown era. Allen Iverson wearing them his freshman year at Georgetown. Right. It was just so many different, amazing, iconic visuals that I have in my head and memory of the Concords on and off the court.
Yeah. The design themselves just stood out, and it just captures a lot of attention. Seeing patent leather on a performance shoe, a clear outsole, a transparent outsole, all those different features that Tinker Hatfield, the man, designed these with the other man, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So, and the story is, Jordan wanted a fancy off-court shoe as well, something you can wear on and off-court. I recently saw an interview with him. Literally said, "Hey, I want something I can wear a tuxedo with."
Yep.
Really be formal with off-court.
Yep.
And Tinker listened.
Yeah.
And what are you come up with? Is this?
And let's talk about the shocking value. Let's put ourselves back in '95 when it wasn't even a thought. We still had the Air Jordan 10 stills.
Yep.
Right. We still had that. NBA players were wearing them. PEs, right? City Pack, right?
Yep.
So we were still caught in the 10s, and then Jordan decided to come back, right, with number 45, which was off. Right. But then, played the Pacers, right? That was his comeback. But when they played Penny, Shaq, and Orlando, right? And then Jordan came through, and the story, the story, right? He had number 45 and he was stinking it up. He just didn't feel the same with 45.
Yeah.
So the day he debuted the Air Jordan 11 Concord, he actually switched his number to 23.
Right.
And it wasn't planned. The only person that kept the number 23 jersey was the ball boy, like the equipment manager. Right. So nobody knew that he was going to, not even Nike knew that Jordan was going to turn. It was just something he wanted to get that old feeling back.
And the other interesting thing about that debut is that the shoe wasn't ready.
Yeah.
The shoe wasn't ready. It wasn't ready to market.
Yep.
And Tinker Hatfield said himself in a recent interview that not recent interview, but an interview.
Yep.
Is that, he told him, hey, they're not ready for market, but Jordan wanted to wear them. And he fell in love with them. He saw him as this is beautiful all the way around.
It was so not ready that the original, and you never, Craig Sager, rest in peace, when he held that shiny patent leather, I was like, what is that? Like,
yeah,
it was a shock factor. I was like stuck to the TV like, what is that? And it had 45 in the back.
Yeah.
The sneaker had 45 in the back. That's how unprepared Nike was.
Yeah.
They didn't have a 23.
Yeah, that's right. And then Ahmad Rashad also
Wore them.
He wore them.
In
He's
Chicago.
like, he got a pair, and they're tight too.
Yeah.
Ahmad Rashad. So
My
I'm sure it's like,
man.
yeah. And so that was cool to see. But yeah, a lot of like, and again, all we had was just watching the game,
Right.
and squinting.
Right.
And trying to get as close as you can to the screen to see
Right.
what they're wearing. That's all we had.
What
We
we
didn't
had.
have the YouTube. We didn't have the internet to do our research. Right.
Yeah.
We had to like stay glued
Yeah.
and put a VHS tape and then record it live.
And then wait every month for the mail for East Bay and pray that East Bay showed them.
Yeah. That was our glimpse, And then, at the time too, Slam Magazine, Kicks, they had their, their way of previewing shoes.
Yep.
That was
That's
awesome
true.
too. Basketball cards was another way of seeing
100%.
the shoes as well. I remember
That's a
getting
fact.
basketball cards of him, Jordan, in the air with those shiny shoes on his foot.
Basketball card. Remember that dunk he did when he went like this?
Yeah, he's like,
a little sideways. Yeah.
Sideways, and then he did one where he's kind of like back.
Double pump backwards.
Double pump, that's right.
Against Orlando.
And, it's just super awesome, like iconic memories with this shoe. So
100%.
yeah, man, a lot of history here. So
All right,
let's dive in.
so let's connect the dots to these sneakers, right? Because we just PSA, I should say, these are not all OG. In terms of these sneakers are not all OG, came out in 95, 96. We only have 2 OG pairs on the table. We have the OG Concords, and we have we want to pick them up, Bobby? Those are the OG, right? That's complete 1996 OG. And then
95.
95 OG. And then we have 96 bread.
So yeah,
black and red.
technically these were manufactured in 95.
Right.
They did debut out to the public in 96, but
Yep.
yeah, I mean, that's 95, 96.
95, 96. And real quick, before we go into it, there were 2 factories in 95, 96. There was a China and there was a Taiwan. Right. And it was kind of confusing because there was some pairs that was from this certain manufacturer in Taiwan. They had the orange. They had this box right here, the traditional Nike check orange and cardboard brown box. And then you had the AIR, Air Jordan blacktop box.
And just to kind of give you a little visual of the idea, and obviously we'll send, have more.
Right.
This is like the orange box there.
Right.
And you're right, the Air Jordan box, which I can actually pull out here.
Right.
Which was a classic box that they've been using for previous pairs.
The 9s and things of that nature.
So they
that's
had
made
this.
in China.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly right.
So first want to highlight, not an OG, but let's go to, now I'm going to do I have my little cheat sheet. We have our cheat sheet. So this was, MJ wore these in the 1995 playoffs. They released in November 1995, and they are the, MJ wore these in May 1995. Okay. And they released OG in November 1995, the Concord with 45 on the back.
Yep.
Now, that is what MJ wore. Bobby, want to show them what released?
Yeah, a couple months later, I believe, or later on
In November.
Yeah,
November.
They released the pair right here.
And what's the difference?
I mean, the 23 on the back.
Yep.
Was basically the difference here.
Hysteria.
The other part to that, so we saw these on court for the first time, right? But going a step back, we saw this model for the first time in the movie Space Jam. So then we see, okay, what's this new shoe? What is this new shoe?
Right here.
He actually wore the ones with the 23 on the back.
He wore right here. Because you got the breads.
Oh, that's right. I do.
There you
I
go.
can't even tell by the.
I know, the front.
So, yeah, exactly right. So we see this model for the first time on the big screen.
Right.
Jordan with Looney Tunes doing the awesome stuff,
But,
right?
but wait, Bobby, you're skipping a step.
Okay.
Before we saw this, Before we got to understand, he debuted back to back. Air Jordan Concord 45. NBA fined him. The next game, Michael Jordan wore the Air Flight 1 with the number 1 tab cut off. Right? Still 95. Still gets Orlando. Fined him for 1 game. Nike went into their books. They went and they cooked up something, and they came out with a black Concord the next day with 45 in the back. Yeah. So remember, before we got the Concord, we got the Concord 45. So what people are saying is these are called Space Jams. They're only connecting these to Space Jam. That is not true, ladies and gentlemen. This right here is actually should be titled the Black Concord. MJ wore 45. The next day after he wore the Flight 95s, the Flight 1, the Penny Hardaway PEs, quote unquote, cut him off, and he wore these. So he actually debuted these, and then Bobby Kicks.
The movie.
We get the movie.
And then we get the 23 on the back. There's a little close-up shot where he steps right on the court, and then you shoot at 23 on the back.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, I mean, these are really, really, special because they are associated to the movie.
So would you say those, here's my question. So I would say those are officially Space Jams because he never wore these ever again.
The 23.
23. This blue hue, because it's more blue than Concord purple.
True.
Right? If you look at the 45, this is Concord purple. That's more blue.
True.
Right? And so he wore these on court just one time. So I would consider these are the black Concords. Those are the actual Space Jams.
And that's actually a good point. I didn't really think about that because I always associate Space Jam with the 9s because you see the 9s in that movie, right?
Yeah, and no one talks about that.
Yeah, no one talks about that. So I see that as a 9. But yes, I would agree with that, yeah.
Right.
Because he did wear those in the movie with the 23. He never wore the 23 on court. It was a 45.
It was a 45.
So yeah, it was
45.
NBA, in other words, yeah.
So timeline, first debuted 45 in the back Concord, okay, would actually release to the public months later was 23, okay. Mm-hmm. After he wore 45, got banned that one game, wore the Air Flight 1, right, a.k.a. what Penny wore, came out with the black Concord, 45 in the back. Then we get, welcome to the Space Jam.
Nah, that's right.
Boom.
And, yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, now we're getting into
the 95, 96.
95, 96. So now we start seeing, like, okay, what is this shoe?
Right.
We see a white version, we see a black version.
Right.
Like the talk of the town now. It's like, okay, patent leather, it's shiny.
Right.
MJ's back. He went from 45 to 23. A lot was going on, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's awesome, man.
And so now we go to the OG, and this is the OG model 23. He wore these for the 95-96 season. Once again, those came out $124. Those came out $125 retail and released in 1995, officially called Concord. They were called Concord because of that purple bottom. Mm-hmm. That purple was a Concord purple.
On the back, yeah.
Right. Then, you know what was interesting about that? He wore the black and white Concords home and away for the entire first half of the NBA season. Like no other colorways. I remember thinking like, okay, where are these?
Version, yeah.
Where's MJ? Where's the black version? Where's what you wore against Orlando? Where's what you wore in Space Jam? And he just stuck to black and white, and it was fitting. Because that was when NBA had the black shorts, the black uniforms. They had the red uniforms, the white. I mean, the patent leathers matched everything.
And it was interesting because basically the NBA stopped picking on them.
Right.
After that point, because they kept finding them.
Right.
Because they didn't. It was a dress code. Right.
Right.
But after a while, they're like, okay. That's fine.
You're making us too much money, bro.
You win. You're MJ, right? He wins. But yeah, that's awesome, man.
And then so now it's NBA All-Star Weekend. We're like, okay, what's MJ going to rock for All-Star? Is he wearing the black and white Concords? He came through with the Bobby Cakes.
Columbia's here.
And that's not OG. This is the version that came out in 2025.
Yeah, this is a recent release. They try to make it as close as possible to the OG with the high patent leather cuts.
Right.
It's still a little off because there's little details here and there. But yeah, this is a pair that's in my personal collection. Right. It's a must-have because it is 100%. Part of that, storyline.
100%. I don't want to get into too many details. I have that pair too, but the patent leather, yes, it's thin. OG was thin, but the shape was off, and the blue, the sole's a little bit too much of a blue tint. It was a little more blue, clear, translucent OG, but I think overall did a decent job.
Yeah, and what was cool about the debut on these is that when you saw those cool uniforms,
San Antonio,
it's San Antonio,
Lord,
that teal color. Then you see these white ones. It's like it kind of matched, but it didn't. But it's still looked good. It was just a really cool treat to see like this new color of this really cool shoe.
Right.
And I personally remember seeing these at a Sports Authority.
Yeah.
I'm a local Sports Authority. I was like, they just looked so. I remember that they had them right there,
right.
actually touch and
right,
and get your own size on the wall, and I was just so impressed, man. Like a white, I was like
an all white with patent leather shiny that shines and light. You was like, what is that?
Super fancy.
I wanted those. Once again, they sold out, but I remember seeing a lot of females in New York City. This was a major, big female shoe. A lot of females are wearing the white and Columbias, man, and yeah, that was just that was a vibe. Guys wore them too, right? But I just remember seeing a lot of females. And then Bobby, All-Star game's over. I'm like, okay, what's the next Jordan? He's going right back to the Black and Concords, man. I was like, wow, we really just getting Black and Concords the entire NBA season.
Honestly, like if you notice during that time when he's just wearing those, there was a lot of in a way, it was kind of building up the hype, like building up the anticipation. Like this is revolutionary. This design is something you have to see over and over again. The commercial was awesome. Him jumping up like that,
hanging that high
50-foot, whatever,
the high rim.
basketball court, basketball rim, doing that whole thing. I remember seeing him stepping on the court, close up shot, and then running, jumping up. It's like you wanted to see more and more of that. I think it was like
such a big hype.
It was like a subliminal, like, hey.
Right.
This is the shoe. This is the shoe.
And it was. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm a little older now. It made sense that he wore the Concords, the black and white Concords all season because, I mean, that's the greatest colorway of the Air Jordan 11, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Just because of that contrast. So now we get into the playoffs, and now MJ's like, wow. We stepping away from the black and Concords Bobby Kicks.
We're going back to black.
We going back to black with the black and red Bobby Kicks. And when I saw these in the playoffs, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This was a shocking.
What's cool about the playoffs, especially with MJ, he introduces like a darker theme. Like he's in game mode. Like he's in killer mode.
Black socks and all that.
Black socks, a black silhouette with the red pop, Like, he's ready to play. He's really, And this is like, not only was the 11 special on its own, but that season.
Yeah, 72-10. That's 70 ain't a thing without a ring.
So that's why this has a lot of meat to it in terms of like the story. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, this particular pair that we have on hand is the OG. Okay.
This is OG.
So that's an OG. You
could tell by the shape.
You could tell by the shape. You could tell by the quality and build. So it has some wear and tear. But I'm really glad to have this in my collection as well.
Right. And how iconic it is. And you know what? Because we have another surprise. But when you look at this shoe, you think of MJ. What image pops into your mind, Bobby?
After he wins,
crying on the floor.
He's crying on the floor.
Father's Day.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So these released in April 1996. This is in preparation to the playoffs. These came out. MJ wore these throughout the entire playoffs and finals. But there's a twist to it. There's a twist because he actually wore something, and it started off against the Knicks in the playoffs, and I was like, "This is not a bread." Like, what are you wearing right now? What do I see? That's like a red sock liner. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he brings us these Bobby Kicks.
Yeah.
The Air Jordan 11 IEs.
IEs. So yeah, I mean, same thing. My reaction as well. I saw these. I was like, okay, they have a similar bottom part, like the outsole,
right?
But the top, it throws me off a little bit, right? And you could actually see his socks, like meaning like the little NBA logo sock, because a lot of times you can't see it through this,
right? Correct,
in covered. So now you can see a little bit more.
So you knew it was a low top,
yeah. So it's like, okay, this is different, right?
Right.
But it wasn't shiny, so it's like, well, what are we looking at here, right? He wore it for a couple of games
in the playoffs,
right?
Against the Knicks, yeah.
That's right. I'm sorry, yeah. And but for not for a long time.
Maybe a couple games.
And from what I understand, he wasn't really feeling comfortable in these.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
That's what I understood. Like he wasn't feeling comfortable.
It makes sense. I mean, it was low top. I mean, he wore low tops before, but I know during that play, I mean, that was a big playoff series, and me being in New York as a kid, as a teen, like that sneaker and this sneaker, they both came out in the summertime of '96. These were like, because this was like a total rendition of what patent leather was, and this came casual, and this was a hot. These two were like hot commodities. This is the white cobalt, right? And they bought the elephant skin back
for the first
homage
time,
to the Air Jordan 3,
yeah,
right? These two were a summer 1996 sneaker.
And but yeah, like I said, wearing these for the first time,
right,
tops throwing people off. Okay, what
Right.
are we doing? Because it's not shiny like the other ones.
Right.
It's still an iconic shoe because of it was kind of like a little break.
Yeah.
in what we saw, right, with all the other patent leather that we've been seeing.
Yeah, we got the suede, we got the netting. I mean, yeah, Bobby Cakes. This was a wrench. This do us off.
Yeah, for sure.
This do us off.
This particular pair is the retro pair, the latest retro
Yep.
pair from 2000, and we got 2021.
21, and this is a retro pair from 2015.
Yeah, that's
Right.
an older pair. And,
Right.
love that pair. Love that colorway.
That was a hot 1996 summer, man. Those two colorways right
The other cool thing about this shoe in particular, these vents that they introduced,
the breathability.
right? Which is kind of cool. It was very different. That
Right.
really caught my eye when I first saw them in person, right?
Right.
You can kind of see through them,
Right.
which is kind of cool.
Right.
I think it's still a great design because
100%.
It does have a lot of like the features that a baller would use, like the ventilation,
Yeah.
the herringbone grip on the bottom,
Yeah.
carbon fiber shank plates.
Yep.
So nice tumble leather. So it has a lot of cool features. It's just a low top. From what I understand, Jordan wasn't feeling comfortable.
Feeling too comfortable with that?
He wasn't feeling secure.
That makes sense. I like these. I mean, I like both of them. I like these because from far away, that red sock liner just made this shoe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I love that this paid a homage to the Concords. I mean, you got Concord purple.
Yeah.
You got Concord, right?
Yep.
So I love that little subtle detail. But Bobby, we still in the playoffs.
Yep.
Right? We get to the finals. MJ wore those a couple of games. MJ, wears these, right? And then next thing you know, we're in a situation where MJ pulls this off.
Yeah. Now we've seen a low. It's like, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth. Like, what are we looking at here? Like, they
Mm-hmm.
keep switching on us. They look similar, but they're switching, So, yeah.
MJ wore these in the playoffs and he wore these in the finals, right? But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't know he wore these. I thought these, I've never paid attention to these, okay? Until maybe we in 2025, around like 2020, 2019, I started seeing images. I'm like, hold on. MJ wore black and red low patent leathers and we got pictures of them?
And what's interesting about that, the reason why we couldn't tell is because, again, a solid black shoe with
Right.
black socks,
Right.
it looks like a high or a mid, you know what I'm saying? So you couldn't really tell. And again, all we had was just a television screen at that time.
Right.
Years later, now we have like high resolution images to kind of zoom in and see the
Right.
details. So back then we couldn't tell at a glance.
At a glance, right? So then when I saw images, I'm like, oh, Jordan Brand, Nike, you got to come back out with these. And they came back out with these in 2025 this year.
Years later.
And I'm like, you know what? Good job. I mean, of course, there's discrepancies, right? The sole is not as translucent as the OGs, but it doesn't even matter. The fact that they came out with an MJPE, even down to the carbon fiber plate, they have detailed images of MJ wearing these, and the carbon fiber plate's all black. Mm-hmm. Those are checkered. Right, so they even went down to the specs of MJ when he wore the low tops. It was all black carbon fiber plate. I mean, they paid attention to details, and we got a Jordan PE, man, 2025.
I'm wondering if they invited Tinker back when they're releasing like PEs like this, like these underground PEs, to say, hey, give us the details behind this design. Like you said, you pointing out the carbon fiber. That's a small detail that not a lot of people will pay attention to. But
Right.
I'm sure Tinker was involved in that back then, so I would
That's a good point.
imagine, they would invite him back to say, hey, help us out, because we want to release this retro
Right.
that he wore a couple of games. So now they're going into the vault to really go
Right.
release these.
Digging in the crates. And
Yeah.
we're not done. We got two more. We're not done, right? I hope you guys are enjoying this because we're enjoying this,
Yeah.
right? But let's go back to now championship number 4. MJ's back a full season, played every single game. At the time, the most wins in a season. Golden State broke that, but at that time, 72 wins and 10 losses, which is crazy. It was the first year that Dennis Rodman played on the team, so we got to see that crazy Rodman madness. And then now we get to the championship day parade, Bobby Cakes.
That's right, the parade kicks. So what's interesting about that little scenario is that he's wearing some Concords with his oversized jeans,
MJ jeans.
MJ jeans, which is cool. And sitting casually, everyone's doing their speech in front of the crowd in Chicago, right? And everyone's sitting down. You see MJ wearing some Concords. Oh, cool! Those are the Concords that you wore in the game. Cool. Didn't think much of it. There's pictures taken, right?
Right.
But then years later, we start seeing close-ups. So wait a minute, they're not going all the way. His pants were slightly up, so you can see that it is a low. So we start seeing a low top version of a Concord.
He wore low top Concords at the parade with his Oakleys on, but low top Concords, Bobby.
And which tells me this was more of a casual one for him.
Right.
You know, because he himself said so that this is his favorite Jordan. So I imagine, hey, I want all
flavors.
the cuts. I want all the flavors
that makes sense.
that you can give me.
That
So
makes sense.
I want to go casual for this event.
Right.
Give me a low. So I imagine that's probably the thought process.
Right. So once again, Nike going in the archives, and that was 1996 championship parade, but these came out in 2014.
Yeah, years later. Yeah.
So I love the fact that we had the opportunity to get what MJ wore on and off the court in sneakers that was customized specifically for him.
Yeah.
These are the low Concords, man. And I mean, I think this is a beautiful shoe.
It's clean.
It's clean.
It's clean.
It's clean, right?
Very, very summer.
Very summer. I think I wish it would have came out summer with these, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But it's all good. We still got a piece of Kickstory.
It would have been really cool to see Jordan actually wear these Cobalt ones in the parade because they are lows. If you wanted like a summer shoe, kind of more casual, it would have been cool to have him wear those.
And then it connected dots.
It
connected dots of on court here.
Yeah.
And then Cobalts,
It just looks good too. I mean, all the elephant print and the details.
I agree.
So it would have been cool.
But last one, we about to end this 95-96 special edition of what MJ wore on and off the court. Air Jordan 11, only 95-96.
Right.
Bobby, random internet pictures were floating around.
True.
Of MJ wearing these, and I just remember one picture, right? And you just see his ankle, the back of it, and you see this red sock liner, and you like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
If I could be very transparent, I don't even know what year that was. I don't know if that was a MJ retired Wizards, if that was MJ 96. I don't know. I'm assuming it was 96, Bobby.
I have a feeling it was.
Was it 96?
I have a feeling it was.
Okay.
Because for me, the giveaway was what he was wearing casually.
Okay.
And that to me, it was like a 96 fit.
96 fit?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just, it only made sense. And shout out to our guy Shelton, Poppers and Kicks. Shout out again for providing us some leverage with this episode. But yeah, I mean, these came out. When did these came out? These came out in 2015.
So yeah, these are retros.
So right, so Nike was in their bag. 2014, you get the championship parade lows. 2015, you get the MJ scrolling around in the gym.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell when he wore these,
right?
Because was it during the playoffs? Because this was already introduced, the black and red ones. And again, going back to the point I was making, I'm pretty sure it was during that 96 time because if it was years later in the Wizards years, he would have been wearing like oversized like warm-ups like this velour.
Right.
Because that's what it was back then in the 2000s. That was 2000s.
That was a vibe.
But he wasn't wearing that. So
that
casual. So to me, that tells me that what he was wearing was the 96.
The 96 era.
But that was another wrench. It's like, okay, but again, we discovered this years later because we have the internet now. We have pictures. People are sharing things on social media. Now we have things to go back in time to do research, right? So, but again, it was one of those things that we wouldn't even know about if it, at that time, years later,
right? Right. So, I mean, Bobby, that concludes our Air Jordan 11 95-96 edition, Kickstory style.
Beautiful shoe. Tinker Hatfields. I know this is one of his favorites. Actually, his favorite.
This is his favorite. Number one.
MJ's favorite.
Yep.
Almost anyone that appreciates just MJ.
Right.
This is probably their top 5 maybe.
Right.
Top 3 maybe.
Bobby, you can't ignore this.
You can't ignore this shoe. This revolutionized sneaker design.
Facts.
It introduced luxurious materials, durable materials,
ballistic mesh,
patent leather.
Full length carbon fiber plate.
Exactly. Right. Translucent sole with the pods, the herringbone pods. A lot of cool features. Just, what was interesting about some of these little details, like on this little tab, you have the Space Jam one that says like Space Jam Jam.
Yeah.
Or Jumpman Jam. The other one says Jumpman Jordan. So little details here and there. But, even that little font there was like, well, that's kind of cool. What is that font, Yeah. So it was very futuristic. And then the apparel that came out with them. So it was a whole experience.
It was a whole experience.
It was not just the shoes, but it was a whole experience. And then on top of that, if you were alive during that time, seeing MJ wear the shoes, seeing the commercials on TV.
Right.
That was just a whole awesome experience to witness that at the time
Right.
too. And then years later, they still retro these out every December. A cool
this
gray
is the Christmas shoe.
or a Jubilee or some other special color to kind of keep
red,
this
white,
energy
red.
going,
Yes,
right?
Sir.
They'll keep
Did
doing
you know
it.
this year, Christmas 2025, you know what they're doing?
What are they doing?
They're coming out with 6
Yeah.
Air Jordan 11 colorways.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a little OD, but I get it. They're trying to, they amplifying the tradition.
Exactly right. So yeah, it's now predictable. Like during the Christmas time, you're gonna get an 11,
Right.
So
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
and one more thing, we didn't talk about the shapes. We didn't talk about like the difference between different retros. I mean, there's plenty more renditions. We just gave you a couple. We gave you once again 2 OGs, right, and then some other renditions. This wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to tell the Kickstory timeline of 95-96.
95-96 timeline with the 11s, the greatest shoe, considered the greatest basketball shoe ever.
Yep.
A lot of fans.
Yep.
A lot of history.
Yep.
MJ's the GOAT. And, this is just one of those things that we wanted to do our version of.
Yep.
And let us know what you guys think. Like, which one of these do you have in your collection? Do you have them all?
Right.
Do you wear them? Do you have OGs? I know there's a lot of great collectors out there that have strictly OGs.
OGs only.
Even, seeing these, the Columbias and OGs, they're all yellowing, stuff like that. It's really cool to see that stuff. But share with us your kick story with us, your collection, all that good stuff.
And then also share what's your favorite Air Jordan 11? Like, what's your favorite colorway and why? Right? And also, what's your 96 story? What's your 95-96 story?
If you're alive that time,
right? If you were around, we're one of the lucky ones, right? Must admit that. If you were around 95-96, did you get your hands on an OG? Right? Were you like me and struck out every single colorway that came out? Right? Like, what's your 95-96 story? Overall, engage with us. Show us some love on YouTube. Comment down below. Show us some love on the gram, Instagram. Show us some love on TikTok, too. We're on TikTok showing this as well, too. So, yeah, want to hear some engagement, your thoughts on the 11s.
And since you made it this far, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that notification bell. Share this video.
Yes, sir.
Share the channel with all your friends and family, all those sneakerheads out there in the family and your friend circle. Yep. We're here to stay. Yep. Kickstorypodcast.com. You visit that site, you get links to all of our channels.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're on all the audio platforms. Whichever one you're listening to, we're on it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're on here on YouTube as well. Instagram, engage with us there, comment with us, send us a DM, all that good stuff.
Yep.
TikTok is also ramping up as well.
Yep.
So we're excited to, slowly start ending this season 3, going into season 4 pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
So it's going to be a great end to this season. Yep.
That was a perfect way to end it, Bobby Kicks. I hope you enjoyed our little Air Jordan 11 hub that we have here in Kickstory Podcast Studios at Top Rocker Tattoo Studios. Excuse me. Enjoy yourself. Be safe, and if you don't got it, cop some 11s. We out.
Later, guys.
Thank you for watching this episode of Kickstory. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. And stay connected with us on Instagram and these podcast platforms listed here. We also want to hear from you. So make sure to comment below and give us your thoughts. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you next time.